Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, May the 29th. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here today to go over a really exciting NBA four-game playoff slate that will basically cover from early afternoon till late after midnight tonight. So very excited to go over this slate. Just a couple quick mentions of the Friday night slate, which was a very interesting one. We had a couple of surprise games and a couple of things that we had talked about that we thought may very well take place, and they certainly did. To start out, we had Atlanta really handle the Knicks fairly easily. Another really bad game for Julius Randle. So that game went to 2-1 Atlanta. And then Boston with a really courageous fight, and Tatum dropping another 50 real points. Amazing. Knocked off Brooklyn to make that 2-1 Brooklyn. And then the concern I had with the Mavs came true. The Clippers stepped up, even though they were down 30-11. Ty Lue finally opened his eyes and realized he couldn't play Zubac in there and make the switch where Luka could just take him one-on-one every time. And once they went small and put Batum in there at center, it just created a lot of problems for the Mavericks. So Clippers win that one 118-108 and are now only down 2-1. So that next game is going to be a huge one for sure. Hoping that Dallas can definitely at least take one at home. So it was a good night, some good games, and we have some interesting ones tomorrow with a couple of well, I should say today, because it's well after midnight. But yeah, these games should be good. We've got some fairly high totals across the board with all four of them, which sort of evens it out. And then the spreads are all almost even as well, between 4 and 6. So, just a really fair slate where we'll be able to hopefully hone in and find some real winners for you. Tonight was a great night, Coach Talk, as far as from the cash game and building bankroll and, just sticking with our process, grinding out some cash wins. Didn't get to where we wanted to in some of the GPPs and the single entries. Barely slid in the cash on some. I didn't quite make it on some others. So, this Saturday here, we are looking to just have some big takedowns. So if you want to join us, by the way, dfscoachtalk.com, jump in there and hop aboard. All right, let's dive in. The first game is at 1:30 Eastern. It is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat. Milwaukee has a 3-0 lead in the series, and it is Milwaukee minus 4.5, 221.5 over under. As far as player news in this game, big loss for the Bucks. DiVincenzo is out for the rest of the playoffs. So looks like that those minutes probably going to be absorbed mainly by, I would say, Forbes and Connaughton will probably scoop most of those, but definitely a loss for the Bucks. Giannis is on the list as probable. Certainly don't expect any issues there or any limitations. His brother Thanasis, though, is listed as doubtful. He's generally just garbage minutes anyway. As far as Miami, their list there is clean. So I know they're going to be coming out trying not to get swept. This last game was a real beatdown, very surprising, and it definitely threw us a wrench into some of our plans. We weren't expecting a big blowout like that on Miami's court, but we'll see if they can bounce back this time around. It's not like Miami to get swept. If we look at their lineup, it was 38 minutes from Butler, and he did get 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So he certainly improved from the previous 2 games, and started to turn the corner a bit, but just nothing at all from Ariza. Bam had a decent game, but not really, smashing anything. And then after that, it was just a disaster. Duncan Robinson, 1 for 6. Goran Dragic, 3 for 14. Very unusual. They really didn't have anybody other than Butler step up a little bit. So I think, we should see a little bit of a change, with some of these players. And I think obviously with an elimination game, you should see monster minutes from Butler. 40 minutes, I would assume, is very doable if they can keep this game close enough to have a chance. Bam and becomes possible play. Dragic, who started the game this last game, I would assume will do the same, which makes him, a playable, but he certainly struggled. So not slam dunks on the Miami side at all, but, being an elimination game, there's certainly a chance here to look at a Butler, Adebayo, or Dragic in particular. I think anybody else is a little bit of a reach, and this is tough competition in the playoffs in DFS. With 4 games as we have today, or like 3 as we had last night, it is, you can't take a blank from an Ariza or a Duncan Robinson or a Hero or Dedmon. I mean, those guys are, I know you have to make the salary work everywhere, but, it's tough to go down and really get eliminated just with one of those guys not doing anything. So, Miami side, I think stick with the main guys and then see where we go from there. The Milwaukee side, I mean, they're in cruise control. The one thing is they did all contribute, though. I mean, it was across the board, just solid games. Giannis only had 17 points, but he had 17 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. So, he's always going to light up the board. The question is, it's in Miami. Does Miami buckle down and finally at least play some decent defense? Is the question. And is Giannis the pay-up guy? It's possible, but you're going to get, decent contribution from the other players on the team, as opposed to a team like Dallas that, it's pretty much Luka or bust. You've got a real quality, obviously, Chris Middleton, who had 22 last game. Drew Holiday, who shot 70% from the field and pitched in with 19. He's been very playable as well. So, the 3 big guys there certainly are in consideration, to play one of them. I doubt I'll play more than one and just try to spread out my exposure. Brook Lopez is a consideration. He got almost 27 minutes with 13 points and 5 rebounds the last game, and a couple of blocks, which he usually throws in there. So he is a good salary if you need to go down price wise. I think you'll see a lot of ownership on Bryn Forbes, and I may be one of them. I mean, he got 21 minutes the last game, and some of that was because DiVincenzo got hurt, only playing 9 minutes, but he's also been a guy that's been hot in this series. He came in and poured in a bunch of points in one of the games, and, very possible a start for him. We'll see what Coach Bud's going to do with that. But, Forbes becomes somebody that you have to look at. And I think Connaughton at least has to be in a small discussion. I'm not going to go there, but he did get 18 minutes and should see a bit of an uptick. But again, a gamble, and really where you can't afford a dud. So one of the main fellas, and probably Forbes because of the value, is the best way to go. All right, let's go to game 2. That game starts at 4 o'clock. Denver leads this series 2-1 It is the Denver Nuggets at the Portland Trailblazers, and this is a heck of a series. It's going to be a barn burner down to the wire, I think. Portland is favored by 4 here at home, 226.5 over under. Again, the over-unders only span from 227 to 221.5, so not a ton of give either way, and none of the 4 teams are big, huge favorites. So again, it's going to be pretty pure as far as that goes. You're not going to really have to worry about real high total or low total or big blowout favorite, and that really does help to even out the board a bit. As far as injuries in this game, Barton is out. He remains out, should be back soon. Certainly something that doesn't help the Denver cause. But let's look a little bit at that last game. We know the Joker continues to do Joker-like things, just ridiculous, really. I mean, 36 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, and just really solid again. 50% from the field, 57% from 3, and 100% 8 for 8 from the line. Just an absolute machine. A lot of it may come down to, is it Giannis or the Joker that the pay up, spot? And I very well may go Joker here. I think, he definitely has Nurkic's number. Portland is not a strong defensive team. They haven't been all year, and he's just been dominant. His supporting cast is decent, but not as strong as Giannis's, in my opinion. And it's really, the Joker with some assists from Porter, and then, the rest is just a grab bag of whatever you can get. Now, Gordon did step up a little bit, had 13 points, and had a few periphery stats. Austin Rivers had a big finish to that game. He actually took 10 threes and was 7 for 14 from the field. So, when he's playing with confidence at his value price, he could be a terrific play. I think you'll have a lot of people chasing that last game. He did not get it done in the first 2 games as he did the last game. So certainly some risk there. But if he does get the 37 minutes that he got this last game at that price, it is very, very tempting. Just the same goes really for the other 2 guards that are of note here. You've got, Campazzo, who played 33, and Monte Morris, who's continued to gain minutes. He's up to 25.5 minutes this last game. And, for me, my emphasis on not wanting to play guys that split minutes at a position. And I do think that Morris is probably to the point now in this game where you're going to see a pretty even split with Campazzo and Morris. However, they did play together on the floor somewhat if Rivers is not having, one of his games. So, all 3 of them you can consider, obviously. There's risk with all of them, but you do need to find value somewhere. And I'm going to try to determine where I want to settle with those 3 guys. I'm leaning towards Morris, actually. I think he is a proven commodity, even more so than Campazzo and Rivers, in my opinion. And it was just a matter of him being healthy. And, he's the kind of guy at the price that he is, I think, that can make a massive difference. Not going to go any deeper. Again, can't risk it with a Jermichael Green or Millsap or Howard, Shaq Harrison. Those guys are all going to be small minutes where it's just, not going to make an impact. The question is, do we go with the secondary guy of either a Porter or a Gordon? Gordon's price remains low. He does continue to improve. Porter's expensive, but he's going to get mid-30s minutes, and if he's hot, he really gets it done. But only 11 shots the last game, which is a little concerning. I expected him to have like 20 shots up, but he had less shots than Rivers, almost the same as Campazzo. So Don't know if I want to play up with Porter. May stick with Gordon at the cheap price because, his minutes are pretty safe. 34 again this last game. And again, it's balancing really, the top pay up guys with some mid-level guys and making it work because there's no like monster value anywhere that you can say, okay, this guy's going to get 30 some minutes at a minimum price. It's just not that way in the playoffs. So it really comes down to being able to pay up for a guy or two that you really think can smash the slate that you can't do without. And I'm talking Westbrook, either Westbrook, the Joker, or Giannis, really, those three, because those three at any time can, put 80 fantasy points, 85 fantasy points up on the board, and they're a must-have. So, that's a good possibility of where you have to go there, and then try to find these guys that, aren't the JaMychal Greens and Paul Millsaps that can get 5 fantasy points for you, but trying to settle on either the Gordons or Morrises that are going to get decent enough minutes, may not smash the slate, but if they can get to 5 or 6x, along with some of your smash plays, that's really all you need. And that really seems to be the theme. Now that we're getting into these game 3s and 4s in these series, we're seeing sort of the lay of the land, how the playoffs are working. And, it was a shock to the system for all of us to go from teams playing 15 players and having 3 minimum price guys be in smash positions to, very limited rotations, 7, 8 guys maybe, with the majority of minutes going to the key players. And so it's been a balancing act trying to, avoid the giant landmines of some of the guys that just aren't getting it done and not getting the playing time. So again, I think this could be a key game to look at for a couple of those value plays that we mentioned that are, they're mid-level, but still somewhat value. On the Portland side, guys that fall into that category, you still got Robert Covington. His price has plummeted 39 minutes the last game. And boy, guys like that with those kind of minutes make it just very tough to pass on. They really do make it work for your pay-up guys. And I didn't mention Dame Lillard. He's another guy that you could consider with those other 3 as the monster pay-ups. He played 40 minutes again, dropped in 37 points. But again, we're in that situation where I think Lillard has a little bit better help like Giannis does, as opposed to the guys that I'm sort of favoring as the buy-up guys, with the Joker, who it's a little bit thinner there. It's tough call though. I mean, you've got to look at these guys and try to determine, where is that going to get spread out. Now, Lillard took 31 shots the last game, but he does have McCollum. McCollum got 20, Powell 14. That's a hell of a lot of shots. And that's what makes, this game very interesting to me also, because I do think it has the potential to be the highest scoring game. There is a decent tempo that we expect here, and is proven to be that case in the first 3 games. So, Lillard, I don't know. I mean, it makes it very, very tough when you're trying to determine, do you take Westbrook, who's somewhat solo at times, but Beal's with him? Do you take, the Joker in that situation where he's carrying the squad, or do you go to a Lillard, in this type of situation? It's tough. I'm probably not going to go Lillard as much as I think, he's an outstanding play, but I would prefer to look at either Nurkic. I think, he's going to be on the floor. He keeps fouling out of these games because he can't handle the Joker. So that is a little scary, but he got 32 minutes, which is very respectable. Canner only played 5 minutes and 50 seconds. So he is pretty much out of the scoop there. They played Carmelo 27 minutes. He actually was guarding Jokic a few times, guarding couple of the different strong players from the other side inside the paint. So, we'll see how it goes there. Powell at 36 minutes has been consistent but not smashing. His price is a little high. I'd prefer Covington. McCollum's price is leveled a little bit, certainly much cheaper than Lillard, and has the potential to outscore Lillard, and that is always tempting, when you're trying to fit in salary. So a lot of interest in this game. Would like to, come out of it with about 3 guys, probably a pay up and a couple of those, you can't really call them valued, but mid-level type plays. All right, 2 games remaining, and we're going to provide it at Coach Talk a full slate, which will be all 4 games that we'll post at 1 p.m. And then we'll also do an after-hour slate, the 2 night games separately as well, which that locks at 7, so we'll be posting that at 6:30. Plenty of time to jump in with us. This podcast is posting early morning, so if you hear it and you want to join in, go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can see our memberships right there. If you want to just try us out, dip your toes in the water, if you will, there's a 3-day pass for $10, so you get all of our action Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We've got NBA games every day, and then baseball and golf. So definitely would love to have you join us. If you want to take advantage of 2 other specials that we have going, one being our NBA playoff special, which is a great deal. It's 2 months of all Coach Talk you can eat, basically. It's all of our content, podcasts, lineups, all of our sports, and it's $111 for 2 solid months that gets you through all of the NBA playoffs. And great package. A lot of people are taking advantage of. If you're interested in betting on the games, one of our providing sponsors and presenting sponsors, I should say, is BetUS, and betus.com.pa is the website. You have the option to sign up there by using the promo code Coach Talk, all one word, no space, depositing $149. You get to use the whole $149 on BetUS for all of your wagers, and you get that 2-month free NBA playoff membership with us. So if you're looking to get the membership, $111 is the great deal. If you're looking to bet on the games and you want the free membership, the $149 at BetUS is the way to go. And again, if you just want to try us out and see what we have to offer, we have the best community on the planet. We have great pros, a real active Discord. We're giving out full lineups for FanDuel and Yahoo, and coaches clipboard or core plays on DraftKings. So, but if you do just want to try us out for that 3-day $10 pass, jump on dfscoachtalk.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second. This is the one big ask we have every podcast. Thumbs up is important to us. Smash that subscribe button. Please do that. It takes 2 seconds. We're really gaining on a major goal that we have here at Coach Talk as far as subscribers. So we really appreciate that. And while you're at it, click the little button in the corner, upper corner there that will give you an alert every time one of our podcast posts. And if you want to catch us on Twitter, we're all at DFS Coach Talk. My partner here in crime, Mr. Andrew Hansen, is at Language Olympic, and I am at JoeSarvadi. All right, thank you for sticking with me through that. Let's attack these last 2 games and get after it here. The 7 o'clock game is Philadelphia at Washington, and the big news of the day and everything that we're going to have to follow in Discord throughout the day is the status of Russell Westbrook. We know that he went out with that injury, but we know that he's tough as nails and he usually plays. But again, if the injury is going to hobble him, there's a chance that he could be out. So we'll follow it closely through the day. It will change this entire game if he does sit or he is limited. So that's going to be very important. So I'm gonna break this game down as if he's gonna play without limits, and then we'll adjust throughout the day. Obviously, if he does sit or limited, Beal becomes 100% play, but I'm expecting him to play. I think he's even more motivated since that idiot dumped the popcorn on him there in Philadelphia. So that was an embarrassment. But I think he plays. So the only other possible injury at all is Philadelphia. Seth Curry had a bit of an injury, but he's probable to play um, in this game. Philly's up 2-0, and they are a 6-point road favorite here. 227, just a slight half point bigger than the last game. It is the largest on the slate, but just barely. And, it's understandable why. We know Washington's the fastest paced team in the league. There are extra possessions. Philadelphia, as good as they are defensively, there has been higher scoring at times in this series just because of Washington's pace. So, it keeps these guys in play. I don't think that this game is a smash play, over any of the other ones, though. I think the Denver-Portland game, I may like even just a smidgen better. So, but obviously in this game, if Russ does play and he's able to go, playable. He was only 2 for 10 in the last game though, so that's a concern at his price. He's always a triple double waiting to happen. I think you're going to see low ownership on him because of the injury and the poor last game where he let a lot of people down. Could be a monster steal and could take stuff down for you if you do risk the play on him. I'll probably be with the majority and more than likely fade him just because, I respect Philly's defense. They certainly could get a closeout game or game 3 win here to get close to closing out the series. And it is a do or die win for Washington. They don't want to go down 3-0. Teams that go down 3-0 are 0-144 in this round of the playoffs. So, if you're down 3-0 like that, you're in trouble. So it is more than likely, though, for me, I'm going to look at possibly Beal. He's playing and shooting well, 28 shots last game. We need him to pick up the peripheries, though. I mean, not as great on the rebound, assist, steal area. Hopefully he picks that up because he's expensive as well. As far as the Washington guys, everybody always tries to find a golden nugget from one of the Wizards. And, I'm guilty with the rest of everybody else. I mean, whether it's Hashimura, who generally disappoints, the craziness of, Len, Gafford, and Lopez, just a nightmare. Raul Neto, who really he had one decent game, but generally doesn't do a thing. Davis Bertans, who possibly had one of the worst playoff games I've ever seen in my life, 24 minutes, 0 for 4 from the field, all chuck and duck threes, and he grabbed a grand total of 2 rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks, nothing. And on top of that, he fouled out. So if you take Bertans, you have a lot more courage than I do. I think that guy is a joke. Ish Smith is the guy, off the bench that's had the most impact. He got 14 shots up, which is second to Beal on the team. And when he's in there, he does ball. I mean, he plays, but risk, there's a lot of risk there. And really for me, I'm just not going to go there. My theme today is avoid these pitfall guys that are just, going to destroy your lineup. And I know it's easier, said than done because there's not these awesome value plays. But again, if you don't push the envelope and buy up and go with these upper level to mid-level guys, you can make it work. I mean, I've developed some lineups here where I haven't had to scrape the bottom of the barrel and, pray that Raul Neto somehow has a good game or whomever it is. So, for me, it's going to be a small consideration of Russ once I see, if his ownership is as low as I think it could be. I think it could be a phenomenal leverage play here if that does happen. And if not, I think Beal is a very good candidate to get some run with me for me here. On the Philly side, we have another, a guy I didn't even mention again, Joel Embiid, when I was talking about the huge payups across the board. We have all the superstars on this card. He only took 12 shots the last game. They're handling Washington pretty easily. And, Simmons, 15 shots, Harris, 13. So, there's a lot of support there. And that's why, Philly, I think, has a great chance, to win the whole thing. I really do. They were my pick last year. And this year, I think they have this even a better chance. And, we'll see how that goes. Now, as far as buying up for Embiid, always a great play, of course. But I just don't know. Again, I'm looking for the guys that don't have the supporting cast as well. And he certainly is getting that, even, from the Currys and Thibault's off the bench. Dwight Howard gets solid minutes as the backup center. So, I'm not going to look at the Embiid side. Harris's price is right on that, brim of not quite being as playable, but 9 for 13 again from the field. I mean, he's been fantastic. 9 rebounds. I mean, he just gets it done. In some consideration there, I guess the guys the two guys that you can consider also, Ben Simmons, of course. His price is high though, but triple-double possibility, playing with confidence, and it's tough to check him. And if Russ isn't 100%, which wouldn't imagine he's going to be totally 100%, you would think that that's going to open the door a little bit more for Simmons. And then after that, Curry being dinged up a little bit is a concern, but he's also a guy that can quickly hit a bunch of shots, make a bunch of threes. But again, sharing some time, divvying it up with Danny Green, and they're playing George Hill quite a bit. He finished a couple of these games. So, you hate to go down there and risk that. But, at least, Green and Curry are veterans that have been around. And if the game somehow stays close, they're going to get minutes over the Shake Miltons and Tyrese Maxey's. I'll tell you, Maxey deserves more minutes. I'd love to play him, but 13 minutes last game, even though he was 4 for 7 again, hit 2 threes. I mean, he's really played well off the bench, but just can't trust his minutes. But I'm impressed with Philly's depth. I think they're a dangerous team, but it hurts in DFS. They're using more players. Some of it's because they're handling Washington easily, but they're using more of their bench than anybody else in the playoffs. And that's not a good thing for us in DFS, as we know. So, we'll see. This game may not be that much exposure for me. I wouldn't mind going with a Beal, and then, a correlation play with like a Harris. But again, some of it's going to have to do with the news on Westbrook and then how the salaries are going to fit in. But, it's an interesting one. All right, let's finish it up. We have a 9:30 p.m. game, last game on the slate. It is a tied series at 1-all. Utah at Memphis. Utah's -5. It's a 224 over/under. And, this has been a really entertaining series, one that I think can easily go either direction. As far as the Memphis side goes, I mean, really, one of the biggest stories of the playoffs has been the maturation of the stardom of Ja Morant. I mean, this guy has really taken it to another level. I did not think I would ever see a game, at least yet, where they rolled him out there for 44 minutes and he took 26 shots. I mean, 15 for 26, 47 points, and 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Absolutely somewhat broke the slate. Now, is that going to be consistent? I mean, the one thing that Coach Jennings has done, he's done a great job with this team, but he doesn't seem to ever play his guys over 40 minutes. So that was a big surprise, for those that own Ja the last time around. I just don't know if I trust it again. I mean, I can easily see him getting 36, but that's 7 minutes less. And, that's a big blow. He was also 15 for 20 from the foul line. And is the guy going to get 20 foul shots again? I seriously doubt it. So I don't say, he's a bad play by any stretch. His price is better than some. And obviously, we've seen his ceiling, but there has to be some regression here, I would think. I mean, first of all, they're probably going to, Utah's a good defensive team. I would assume they're going to plan a little bit better. I respect Coach Snyder, and you would think the preparation will be to take him away a little bit more and make him give up the ball. So, I hesitate to say it, but I doubt that I'm going to go Morant because I think he's going to be highly overowned coming off that last game. And a lot of people, that recency of the last game, I think it's one of the biggest mistakes people make in DFS is they can't get off of what they did that last game. And the stats I just read, they're amazing. But, can he repeat that? I mean, it was his career game, even though he's a youngster, but I don't know. I have some concern there. And, I think that some of that usage of his is going to get spread around a little bit. Whether it goes back to Joval, he only took 12 shots, 7 of 12, was in a little foul trouble, but he still had decent numbers, 18 points, 6 rebounds. He's certainly an option. Kyle Anderson got 37 minutes again. He always contributes in just about every category. So he's a possibility. Jaren Jackson Jr. Had, a really off game for him. His price is decent. And, one of my favorites is Dylan Brooks, and he had a huge game the game before, but really lost a lot of that steam in this game to Ja, but he was still 10 for 14. But he had foul trouble. So I would expect him, to pick it up a little bit. His price is certainly, as we talked about, that mid-level stuff that you need to find to fit in there. His periphery stats were poor this game, only 2 rebounds and 1 assist, but that's really an outlier. He's more of a contributor all over the place and will definitely get you some steals. So I think he's in play at his price. As far as the bench goes, back in that same dilemma, Bane Allen, Melton, Tillman, Jones, those guys are all going to get spot minutes, certainly not enough to dent my lineup. So I will be looking at Brooks a little bit, Kyle Anderson a bit, Joval. I think that, all those guys are in play for me and can make it work because they're not the top of the price level. And I do think that some of Ja's phenomenal game will spread out to some of the other players. And, it's a home game for Memphis. And they haven't had a home playoff game in a while, especially with, they've never had one with this group of guys. And, with more and more people being allowed to be at these games, we know Memphis has always had a phenomenal home court advantage through the years, through all the Conley and Zebo and Gasol years. That that was a very tough place to play. And I think you're going to see some of that tomorrow. And I think that gives an advantage, the adrenaline and everything going for the Memphis guys. So I definitely like some exposure there. And then on the Utah side, we had the return of Donovan Mitchell. We knew that there'd be some semblance of a minutes restriction. Obviously, it was around 25 minutes, and he played 25 minutes and 39 seconds. Will that go up a little bit? I mean, he looked good. He took 19 shots in that time, so certainly, not shy to get the ball up there again. 10 threes, knocked down 5 of them. I can see him in a tight game, 28 minutes maybe. If that justifies the price to you, that's the decision you have to make. He certainly can get it done in that time frame, but you know, the tough part is, do you want to spend that kind of money and know that, he's not, I don't believe, capable or going to be expected by Coach Snyder to get 35, 38 minutes like he would normally get in a close playoff game. So that takes him down just a notch for me. I like a couple of guys here that are decently priced. There's some risk with Bogdanovich. I like him though. He can be a difference maker, but he has to get a few periphery stats because he is a bit scoring dependent. If he can pick up a few of those, though, at the price that he's at, he's going to knock down some threes and going to be in the mix and going to be on the floor. So, he's a possibility. Mike Conley's the vet. This is his old house, too, in Memphis, where he's beloved there. His number will be hanging from the rafters there in Memphis. So what an emotional, exciting game for him. And he played 37 minutes the last go around. I think he's hugely in play here. He's going to make a lot of my lineups. And, I think it's just a great narrative that I think makes sense. I mean, he did get 16 shots up and made 8 of them, played a solid game, 15 assists, and I just, he's well rested. I think he'll get in there and play well. So he's high on my list. And then, Gobert is definitely in play. It's always a question mark because his price is high for a guy that they really don't run anything for. I mean, he got 11 shots up. That's about all he usually gets, 9 for 11, because, usually only shots he takes are pretty much dunks. But 13 rebounds. I mean, he's a double-double for sure, and you get that bonus. But again, he's expensive, and his ceiling is somewhat limited. So it makes it tough. But, I certainly can see, a reason to play him if you can fit him in salary-wise. After that, I think it's a bit of a reach. Royce O'Neal gets minutes, and he can be a nice, guy that just makes your salary work, but very risky. Now, this last game, he got by 14 points, 8 rebounds. That gets it done at his lower price, but a lot of times that may be 8 points, 4 rebounds, and then you're stuck. And then after that, again, we're talking bench guys. And my concern is Clarkson only played 22 minutes last game, and he's pretty expensive for his minutes off the bench. He certainly can be explosive and make a bunch of threes, and get some assists. So, he's not a bad play, but I just don't see spending quite that much on a guy that may only get mid-20s minutes. It's possible. And that's where he, again, 22 minutes the last game. After that, just Ingles, probably not enough minutes, Favors, those kind of guys. So, finding those value guys, again, it's the key on this whole entire slate. And then making sure that the couple of guys you do buy up for do smash. I mean, there's not any room for error. I mean, it is, you've got to just have both of the really 3 elements, and everybody knows that. But it's good to remind yourself as you're building your lineup, because you can talk yourself into some plays that after, the lineups lock and you look at it and you think, why exactly did I do that? But really, it's, a buy up guy or two are a necessity, because there are some guys capable of 80, 85 DFS points. So picking those couple of guys is number one. Secondly, finding those mid-level guys that are priced well enough that they're going to get minutes, they're going to contribute. They may not have as high of a ceiling, but they have a much higher floor than some of the value guys you try to squeeze in there. And then the third thing is avoiding the major pitfalls. It happens every slate that I've seen, tons of lineups where there's one massive mistake that is made, and that player either gets a 0 or a 5 or an 8. I mean, it's happened to all of us, and you can fall in that trap when you're trying to get that last low salary in there. So I would say rather than putting that guy in there at low salary and then risking blowing up your whole lineup, buy down a little bit from one of the higher guys and get the mid-level guys. I really believe my strategy the rest of this playoffs is more of a mid-level build. I mean, I think it's a necessity because the rest of the guys aren't getting the minutes and you can't risk it. So, that's the strategy that I would recommend. And what I've seen through these playoffs is, attack it from a scenario of minutes played for some of these guys and that usage, because with 7-8 man rotations, everybody's usage is up. And so, let's try to avoid any of those gamble guys that are going to throw up a single digit and sink you. So that is it, my friends. I'm excited for this slate. It should be fantastic. We have the same exact situation tomorrow on Sunday with another 4-gamer spread out throughout the day. So I will probably do the super late night, early morning podcast again tomorrow like I'm doing here. So it gives everybody a good chance to listen to it prior to the earlier starts. And again, the first tip is 1:30 Eastern on today. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, dfscoachtalk.com. Become a member. We'd love to have you. And hope everybody crushes it in DFS.